Alright, so I've gone through, I made cuts on this whole door frame. You guys know how I tore it apart. Now, I've just laid everything back together so you can see the shape of the door. And I made my cuts in such a way that I can just weld things back together and get this door made the best way I can. I'm going to go down there, I'm going to move the pieces around to show you what I've done, where they're going to go. Just think back to the drawing I showed you at the beginning. This piece we're not going to use. This piece came from our other door. We're going to use this one. This one comes from the bottom of the trap, same width, so that'll make good for up here. Alright, so that's taking all the parts from the one door, and you can see according to the drawing I'm going to go butt like that. Now on the far edge you see I'm missing a couple inches on that corner. I'm going to have to cut a 3.5 inch slip to fill that in, but because that's capped on the bottom, you can see the open end in there. I'm going to put that slip up there where it breaks. So we took that entire other door and we're going to make all the openings right there and all our cross members and pieces, so we've got no wasted stuff whatsoever. Just that one big chunk that I'm discarding because it's just too much grinding and everything. If you notice on the top part, you get all the little nubs from cutting the rest of it loose, and those nubs are going to match each other. You can see them here to here, and you see them back and forth in there. So we'll put those bars up and down and weld right back to those same nubs, and that way we don't have a mess. Well guys, the battery went dead on me in there somewhere, so I got that welded and found out that the camera wasn't working. So I'm going to flip that over and weld the other side now. You see on that second weld how I kept jumping back and forth? I don't know how well that showed it over there. It's because I had a little gap between the steel there, and when you start welding it, the more heat you apply, the more it melts, and it starts opening up on you. So basically I jump the gap, the spot that's melting, and weld maybe another 1/2 inch down, and then just keep going back and forth until you get that whole thing filled in. And that way you won't just keep burning holes in it. If you see a hole developing, just jump the hole and then go back to it at a later time and fill it back in after when it cools down some. See how this edge down here hangs out above up here? You remember when I cut that on the ground, the edge sprung apart. I forgot about that. So with the width this way, that door is a 1/2 inch skinnier than I wanted it down here at this point, going from here across. We have 41 inches from there across the far side, but then as we come down here, because when I cut it with that chop saw she tweaked in, so now it's going to be a 1/2 inch, so it's going to look a little bit funny on the trap, but I don't think it'd be noticeable. Get this welded up and then I've got to call it a day, guys. Well, that's that for today, guys. Alright, this is what we get, guys. I got to put my cross members in coming up right now. And I went down in here, I just clamped a piece of bar steel across the bottom to help me in balancing this. And with this piece right here, I'm going to make my cut, keep it even. And then this piece, I'm going to flip over, put up in here and use as a filler to help with support. Hogs aren't going to be able to hit this. You'll be able to see that later in the video anyway. So that's going to be strong enough. Then we're going to go up in here, and I just eyeballing everything. And I just made my mark up here with my speed square here, my chalk. So I'm going to cut those real quick, and then we'll get to welding on that. Alright guys, this is how you get your saw blades wore down. You see I got a piece of steel underneath that. I couldn't cut all the way through that 1-inch piece because my blade's too small. That's a 14-inch blade on there, and I'm wearing it down and using it as much as I can. So you just stick a piece of steel underneath it and then cut with it that way, and you can use that, wear that blade down, and that way you can put it on your grinder later on. Use them all you can. Alright, now I'm cutting my second piece now, and because when I mark it on my saw only cuts angles one way. One of the easiest ways I know to do it is just overlap your already cut piece with the correct angles, cut alongside of it, and then all you have to do is hold the two together. And because in my instance here, all 4 angles are the same all the way around, all I do is hold my steel together, flip it around, make my cut on the other one, then transfer it to the top because my blade's small, and cut it that way. Alright, frame's all welded together now. Hit all those welds, got all that done. And I've gone ahead and I've cut all the little cross members for it. And then I'm going to go ahead and get them all tack welded in, and the door will be pretty much finished. We'll just have to do the hinges for it. And then we'll get to work on the trick door. Alright, frame's all done up, welded together, and next step is working on the hinges on the end of the trap, just like we did on this side. So that's next step, hinges. I'll give you the general idea so far. There's the doorway on the trap. About hog tall and hog wide.